our crew behind the scenes managing video and audio and cat food and call screening and everything. But I love them all. The real reason that we do this show is to interact with the callers. So, Jim, did you have any announcements or anything to hit before?
No, not really.
Sweet. Well, jump right in with both feet, because the phrasing of this particular question interested me. Enoch in Pennsylvania wants to know whether or not, or why he shouldn't just believe whatever makes the most sense to him. So welcome, Enoch. You're on with Jim and Matt. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Not too bad.
Yeah.
How can we help? So, is that accurately your question, or is there more to it? Just why should, are you wondering why you just shouldn't believe whatever makes the most sense?
Yeah. So basically, to me personally, it just makes more sense to believe that there is a all-powerful being that created everything than to believe it happened by chance.
Well,
so
see,
we don't know, but since we don't know,
you set up a false dichotomy.
why don't?
You set up, it makes more sense that God did it than that it all happened by chance. Well, irrespective of which of those makes sense, those aren't the only options. And maybe the right answer is to say you don't have enough information to believe that you have any good understanding of how the universe came to be. So why believe either one? You don't have to commit to something, right?
You don't have to, but I mean,
What?
it makes more sense.
Do you think it's a good idea to commit when you I don't have to commit to a belief on who's going to win the game, whatever game we're talking about between Team A and Team B. I don't have to commit to a belief at all. Do you think it's a good idea for me to commit before I have enough information to make the decision?
Oh,
Stop doing it and then stop doing that when it comes to a God. If you admit, which you did already, that you don't have enough information to make a decision, then your position should be, I don't know whether or not there's a God. I'm not convinced that God, because there hasn't been sufficient evidence to convince me that there's a God, and I will be convinced that there's a God as soon as there is sufficient evidence.
Right. And it makes the most sense to me that I should believe that I have $1 million in my bank account. Should I run around and act as if I have $1 million in my bank account? Will that lead me into seriously negative consequences?
Actually.
Okay,
Pardon?
go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think it can't be proven, but I just think it seems like it's more likely that that's the case.
How did you determine that it's more likely? How did you determine that it's more likely God than something other than God?
Because it doesn't make sense that the universe could come about on its own.
Who said the universe came about at all, or that it came about on its own? The issue is, did a God do it? Say that makes more sense. But when I ask you why it makes more sense, your answer is because it doesn't make sense for something else to have happened. What reason do you have to think that the best explanation for existence is that there's a God?
Things can't come about by themselves.
Prove that. How do you know that?
You've never seen it happen before.
Okay.
Actually, that's not correct. We have at the quantum level.
Have we ever seen a God before? Have we ever seen a God do anything? Because you just defeated your own argument in the same way that we haven't seen something come from nothing or something create itself in the limited scope you're talking about. We also haven't seen a God do anything. So that means that you shouldn't believe that there's a God, right? What's wrong with just saying you don't know? Why is it that you're so desperate to say, and by the way, every time you address this question, you do a false dichotomy. You say it's either God or it happened by chance. It's either God or it created itself. There may be an explanation for the origin of the universe. It is neither the simplistic created itself nor God did it, right? There are other options that maybe you don't know about, right?
Create dazzling crystal creations with Ooze Labs, Coupled Crystal Labs. Set up and decorate your very own lab station. Then jump to the 11 fun experiments in crystal formation using safe, non-toxic crystal salt. Create a sparkling crystal volcano by growing fast-forming crystals on a paper cone. Watch as beautiful crystals form on a rock. string of colored crystals dangling in solution. You can even mix up your very own brilliant colors using the spin centrifuge. Follow along with a full color manual that provides easy to follow crystal recipes and scientific information about how crystals form in nature. Bonus, connect your colorful crystal lab station with your other Ooze Labs kits to create your very own Mega Lab. Get growing with Ooze Labs Colorful Crystal Lab from Things in Cosmos.
Yeah.
Okay, so why are you so desperate to make a decision now when you admit that you don't have good reason or evidence to support the conclusion you're reaching?
I wouldn't say I'm so desperate per se. It's just, it seems like it's.
Do you care whether or not your beliefs are likely to be true? Then you should, when somebody says, do you believe there's a God? Your answer should be, I don't know. That's the truth. I mean, if you care about whether your beliefs are true, you can't just go, well, this is what makes the most sense to me. And here's the defeater for this really quickly. Once upon a time, it made really good sense to people that lightning came from Zeus. Think lightning comes from Zeus now?
Yeah, because we have a better explanation.
Yeah, because we have a better explanation. But all those people who believed all those for all those years, they would be sitting around going, why shouldn't I just believe what makes the most sense to me? It makes the most sense to me that Zeus is there. And the answer is because you don't have enough reason to reach that conclusion, and you could be wrong. And if you are convinced of something wrong, how are you going to spend looking for the right answer? Because you don't think you're wrong.
Oh, I would still look for, if more evidence comes in or whatever, and we have different. I mean, I'm still gonna look for other options if they present themselves.
Okay, well, right now, the best empirical evidence that exists, matter of fact, all of the available empirical evidence suggests that there's no evidence that a God created anything or that a God was required to create anything.
Okay, well, that basically answers my question.
Okie doke.
Okay.
Thanks for calling, Nina.
All right, thank you.
The something from nothing doesn't quite work at the quantum level because we do see particles come into existence without cause and from basically nothing.
And I completely disagree with and reject that. I think the description is that we see particles doing things that we don't have an explanation for. The ex nihilo, something from nothing, there's no thing. There's nothing. Nothing can't, there's nothing. But yeah.
Yeah, that's the other interesting topic is the definition of nothing. The physicists don't really have one that does not include the quantum. I hate to use the word quantum, but I'm a piker, so I'll use it.
Yeah.
And I'll let the quantum physicist scream about it. But yeah, it's just a lot of that stuff starts to go away when you start getting into some of the quantum mechanics. So, yeah.
Cool. It's a little complicated, but you know, I'm gonna stay away from it largely. But we've got a ton of callers. So we've got Connor here in Texas, who I read this. I'm a little confused because Connor seems to be suggesting he can debunk atheism when atheism doesn't make a positive statement, so there's no way to debunk it. Atheism is no more than a religion based on blind assumptions. Subjective reality is evidence for God. Wow. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get started.
All right, awesome, man. I'm glad to be here.
Okay.
Where would you like me to begin?
I don't
At the
know.
beginning.
What is your so?
Well,
Hey, I tell you what. Why don't you define atheism?
okay, cool. And I very well might be wrong because it is a path that I was only down for a very short period of time. But I would define atheism as simply not believing in God, right? Disbelief.
Cool.
Assumption that
Cool. We're at now. Here's the thing. Let me change that to King Stamps. Would you ever call in to a show? You can debunk non-stamp collecting.
non-stamp collecting.
Yeah, like you could you debunk? Let's call someone who doesn't collect stamps no stampist. Would you call into their show and say that you can debunk no stampism?
Yeah, all that have to do with stamp. I would just have to experience stamping, and then you
No. You don't collect stamps. You claim that you can debunk that. How can you debunk someone who does not believe something, who does not do something?
I'm not debunking that they do not collect stamps. I could just debunk that stamp collecting system, right? But
That's not what they believe. That's not what I said. So this is about whether or not they believe. This is about what their hobby is. I'm not talking about a belief in this thing. So when you say atheism is no more than a religion, when we define religions, religions have tenets and instructions and guides and a worldview and leaders and organization. None of that exists within atheism, right?
You guys do have leaders. You guys.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
guys
No,
are-
we don't. No, we don't.
No.
That's not what there's no leader of atheism. Pope or a priest or
Leader.
I'm not a leader of atheism.
Leader. Okay.
Oh, trust me.
I'm talking about. So when you say that atheism is a religion, what do you mean?
Yeah, and again, I might have a different definition of a religion. I simply see religion as a set of thoughts and beliefs about divinity, right?
Okay, but atheism, as you've defined it, is someone who doesn't believe in a God. That's not a set of thoughts and beliefs about divinity. That's someone who is not convinced.
But that is a thought about divinity. You could
Oh
not.
my God! Then everything is a fucking religion. What a useless definition.
Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, if you're studying.
Now, hang on. It also says in your call screen thing that you're saying it's a religion based on blind assumptions. But if atheism, as you define it, is not believing in God, what's the blind assumption?
Blind assumption that you're making is that we are living in a material, objective reality, and that there is something outside of direct experience. So, for example, when you close your eyes, right? When you close your eyes, your environment still exists, right?
That assumption, that I am experiencing a reality, isn't a part of atheism. That is, everybody makes that assumption.
Well, no. It's not the assumption that you're experiencing reality. You're experiencing reality, that's the truth. You're making the assumption that we're living in an objective physical world, right? That's made of matter at its base. Okay?
I have evidence. I have evidence that we exist in a material world.
I have evidence that we do not.
Well, then stop saying it's an assumption, because so what is the blind assumption that atheism is based on? Hang on. Let's try this one more time. You say a God exists. I say I'm not convinced. We have defined atheism as someone who is not convinced that God exists. There's no blind assumption required to not be convinced. You start off not convinced, right?
That is the falsehood.
No, that's bullshit. You start off not convinced because at the beginning of your life you cannot even process a concept, which means you cannot have a concept, right?
The thing, concepts are what are actually holding you back from realizing the divinity of experience.
Answer the question. Don't go off on it. Can a baby that's just been born conceive of a God?
Yeah.
No, they can't. We know this from how brains work, that is not possible.
Okay, then give me your definition of God.
I don't have a definition of God. I react to everyone else's definitions of God. They define a God. I am either convinced that God exists, or I am not convinced that God exists. It would be stupid and dishonest argument for me to set up a God and knock down. That's a straw man. You're the one that needs to define the God that you believe in, and then either we're convinced or we're not.
Why don't you listen to my definition of God and see if...
I'm happy to listen to your definition of God. What we were talking about is whether or not a baby that's just been born can conceive of a God. And what we know from neuroscience is that that's not possible, and you're saying it is.
What you're doing? In my definition of a God, a baby can. You are creating a definition of a God.
So, no, Connor. No. So you can sit here and define a God all day long and say that your definition of God means that babies can conceive of things, and what it proves is that your definition of God is wrong and not attached to reality, because babies can't conceive of God.
You're trapping yourself in a giant contradiction. You don't even know what my definition of God is. Yet you're
if your definition of God is based on baby can understand it, and we have evidence that says that babies can't understand it, then your definition of God is automatically flawed before we get out of the game.
Yeah, if your definition of God was, my God, because my God exists, means that Matt has a vagina, I don't need to know anything more about your God. It's false, because I don't. And if your God is one that you think that babies can understand God, we know that's not true either. So I don't need to hear all of your definition of God, because you already broke it by claiming something that isn't true.
No. By you saying that babies cannot understand God, you are creating a definition of God.
No, I'm not.
No.
I'm saying babies can't understand concepts. Zero concepts, no concepts. They don't understand God. They don't understand you. They don't understand arguments. They don't understand genitalia. They don't understand what food is. They cannot
have a concept of God.
That's not the way brains work.
It's a blank slate.
Exactly.
Think that God is a concept when it is not.
Like
God
is
no,
party of genetics and DNA.
Connor, listen.
It's weird because it's like
babies don't understand the concept of a horse.
Just like my dad.
The concept of a horse is independent of whether a horse exists
just like my dad.
or not.
I never met him yet. I didn't meet him until I was 10. And as a child, I was dancing like him. Certain things are passed down, just like, I don't know, like, my mom don't like tomatoes, she don't like mushrooms, she don't like that, so maybe I don't like it because I didn't eat it.
Yeah.
But it's like I like what they like.
But for a child to have any kind of abstract concept is very difficult. You're not just gonna have a baby out the womb that can have a concept of God, and that's what he's trying to say. This dude is like, oh, everybody knows God, even babies, and it's like babies don't understand the concept of God. Now the thing is,
they would never know religion unless their parents took them to fucking church. I was just thinking about that today. Like, how many people would actually be religious if they weren't raised on that shit and brought up in the home?
That's an old thought. Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you were born in Syria, you'll be Muslim. If you were born in Japan, you'll be whatever.
Just like the Muslims don't believe in evolution. Like, I told you I sent that thing to my Muslim friend and he was like, oh yeah, that's funny, but I don't believe in that. And I was
Christians
like,
don't believe in evolution either. Like, most religious people don't believe in evolution. But that's the only thing I say about religion is that every major civilization, every major culture around the world has some type of God belief. It just is. as humans, we have something in our psyche that wants to create a Superman. So if I can pick up a rock, I can imagine a man who can pick up a rock heavier than I can lift. And then I can imagine a man who's stronger than him. And then I can imagine a being that can do anything. And every culture has this idea of a superhuman, a god character.
Even though all the stories are essentially the same, but
so a god concept permeates every culture. As far back as we can understand, but it's developed by the adult psyche, not by a child. You know,
well, that's the thing about the Bible anyway. Who the fuck is King James, yo?
He was king.
He was King James, right? But who the fuck? Okay, well, I'm say I'm Rihanna. I'm the Queen of Barbados, and because everybody loves my music, I get to go rewrite this fucking book.
And that's the thing, like, everything is a version. There is no original Bibles in circulation anywhere, and we haven't had any original copies of any of these manuscripts for 1,000 years. And so all we have is versions of these, and the King James just happened somehow to take hold. If I'm not mistaken, the King James Bible may have been the first one off the printing press with Johann Gutenberg. Because the first thing that was the
motherfuckers named Johann shit.
Yo, when he first made the printing press with movable type, that was the first thing they fucking printed was the Bible. I think it was the King James version.
But for as dumb, not dumb, but I'm not gonna say dumb, but you know what I mean. As dumb as people were 100, 200, 300, 400 years ago, whatever. How it just goes back every 100 years. It's like just add some more dumb on there, because we didn't have all the technology and books and stuff. So I get it, but it's just like got all these dumb motherfuckers, and then you had a group of smart motherfuckers that's like, look, this is how we gonna run them motherfuckers. And that's crazy, because even to this day you wonder like, how does this shit fucking work? Except the difference now is that shit been passed down, and that makes it harder.
You know, man. Main thing people forget too is the Inquisition and the Crusades. Where motherfuckers went to war. Yeah.
I remember learning about the Crusaders in school, but again, same thing. Everything they teach you in school is what they teach you.
Yeah. Motherfuckers went to war over this religion. You ain't bow down to their God, they slaughtering everybody. This nigga up early. You getting ready for work, bro? Or what you doing this morning?
2 people up early.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, mama? Don't start your shit, bro. You let her out, right?
Yeah, she pissed. And she came right back in because I gotta get to the shit.
Get off of me. Furry butt? Oh, you're shaking everywhere. Look at you, you scared? You see how she just did?
What?
You know you scared of the smoke anyway. She smells so much better.
You need to go back outside? Huh? You gotta take a shit.
You got poop? Alright, okay. Okay! God.
Ooh, got the day off. That's what's up.
Hey, we heard you.
Okay.
We heard you.
Sit. Sit. Good. Stay. Stay.
That's what I gotta take her to do this week. Get her claws cut, get her teeth brushed. I would cut her claws myself, but she be doing too much.
Let's go. Go down.
Why you do that to her? Why you play with her like that?
What out?
She was gonna be first.
Mm-hmm. This nigga crazy. I'm crawling out of what looked like a landfill. What the hell? Where you got? What? Where the fuck you slept at? Damn.
I can't see. We need to like. Right,
I gotta get somebody to come wire that shit, yo. I'm tired of that bulb not working, yo.
Yeah, because I was gonna try to make it without my phone, but I was like, I'm about to.
That's why I had that light out there. I'll put that one back out in the hall. Yeah, after the black dude fucked you up, yo. Damn what the black dude, the fixer name is. Motherfucker set you up, put your ass out there in the fucking landfill. And then what happened next? Dexter Deshawn. Yo, what happened next to Dex? Shit about to be crazy, bro. Shit about to be crazy. Motherfucker Dexter Deshawn. Yo. Told you. Bye-bye, Dex. You out of here, Dex. Everybody complaining like about all the glitches and the bugs, and I see it too, and it's annoying as fuck. I swear it is, yo. There's a lot of broken shit with the game, but the story is still so good, yo. It's like Rad Brad said it too. He was like, the story just keep throwing more shit at you. It don't have like a slow point. Even when it slows down a little bit, it's like you just want to know what's the fuck next, yo. All right, bro. How you get the motorcycle? So it took me a long time to do it because at Vic's, damn, I did the same thing. So now there should be a little side mission that comes up where you go talk to his mom. And then you go to his setting up or his wake or whatever, and you'll see there you after damn, I can't think of his name now. After the homie dies, there should be something comes up where you can go talk to his mom. Go talk to her. And that's the mission for the motorcycle. It seemed like, and that's the thing too, like Jackie. All of that shit with Jackie is like part of the main mission. But then it branches off just a little bit to a side mission to go talk to his mom to acquire a special vehicle that ties back into the fucking main story. Yo, how they did that shit is so nice. It's all the side quests, like, they don't really feel like standalone-ish because mostly everything is like tied back to one of the main characters somehow, and then these side quests be having like multiple layers to it. So it's a side quest, and then it'll link to something else, and that shit links back to the main story, and then it'll link back to this person again, and every little story, they weave it so nicely. Everything is just like, so how do you get the motorcycle? Well, Jackie dies, you go talk to his mom, had this conversation, and it's like, that seems totally legit. It just seems nice how they played it out, how they worded it. Everything, it works. It's a cohesive story where there's not like a lot of loopholes where you're questioning like, well, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. They took a lot of time with the story. The story is so good, and that's why like I pulled back from the main quest and started doing a bunch of side missions, and I was so far, like the story had me so good, like I'm like, I better, you know what I'm saying? And then once I started doing the side quests, that's when I found the motorcycle. I was like, I could have been had that shit, yo. You know what I'm saying? So doing some of these side missions is very advantageous, yo. So don't go too far in the main quest line without doing a few of the side missions, because it just levels up your character. You start getting special armor, unique weapons, vehicles. A lot of side missions. A lot. I'll tell you another good one, yo. The races. The one girl, she works at the bar, but in her part-time, she likes to race cars throughout the city and do her missions. It takes a little minute because it's like 4 races or 5 races, and they're located everywhere from the Badlands to, it took me to a new part of the city that I've never been in before. But once you finish all her races, you get a car. You know what I'm saying? And that's that's all you gotta do is just win the races. And the thing is, like, you can race in her car, and her car can win all the races. It's fast enough, it handles good enough, where if you just drive her, you don't even have to buy a car or find a car or nothing to start the races. Just use her car, win all the races, and then you win a car. I didn't do that. Did I do that? I don't think I did that. You took a chain from the body? I don't think I did that. Like dog tags? I remember picking up dog tags from somewhere. Or was that Johnny? I think Johnny gave me his dog tags. No, that ain't the same shit, yo. I know you talking about Arasaku, whatever, Subusaka. He's like, you'll never have to ever forgive me for anything else again. And then, like, he choked him to death in like 30 seconds, though. That's all it takes to choke a man to death. It seemed like he was an old ass man. He was 150 years old, but like, he choked that man to death real quick, yo. My father was poisoned. Your father was poisoned? He was fine. I've been with your father. Hey, shut your fucking mouth. I'm in charge now. You're supposed to protect me and obey me. I said my father was poisoned. Yo, and now that part, yo. Yo, once you start fucking with the Japanese motherfuckers, yo, that shit get, oh my god, yo. I want to get back to the main mission so bad, but I'm gonna still wait for a while. I'm gonna try to do like a few more side quests, because I did one side mission out in the Badlands, and it was over. It seemed like I did everything. Then the person I did the side quest for, they called me and was like, yo, I need you again. You gotta come help me with something else. I'm like, word, I come out there and help. So I'll probably do that mission next. Yeah, what's up? Bruh, you already know you're gonna be a witness in this shit, yo, cause you You and Jackie, the only people who seen that shit. Jackie gone. You the only person. You the only person eyewitness to really what the fuck happened, yo. You already know, but you in the mix so hard, yo. So hard. And that's where I'm at now. I'm at this point where it's like, it's that part of the mission where like you're trying to get the truth out to the family of what happened, and like honestly, I don't even know how this shit gonna play out. That's why I was like, yo, that shit getting too deep right now. Let me pull back for a minute. Getting up in there. Oh, hey, shit. Talking about some video games, working on some art. You know what I'm saying? Bullshit in the morning. Listening to some atheist debates. Is God real? Is God not real? It's all kind of shit going on. You know what I'm saying? Getting hydrated for the day. You up early in the morning asking some weird ass questions. Huh? Man, look here, officer. I don't know what you talking about. You know what I'm saying? I don't fuck with the cops. Yo, Tyson, watch this guy, yo. This dude right here. Yo, watch out, man. It's 2 p.m. It's 5:50 a.m. where I'm at. I don't know where you at, bruh, but it's early in the morning for me. Early in the morning. Where the fuck you at? England or Germany or something? Where you at? Motherfucker says 2 p.m. Bro, that motherfucker ain't nowhere in the States, bro. He can't be in the States if he's saying it's 2 p.m. where he at. It's not 2 p.m. nowhere in America. That's why I say he got to be forward across the fucking Atlantic Ocean somewhere. You talking about he in the sea? Ain't no fucking sea, bro. You got to cross the Atlantic. You got to keep going fucking east to go forward in the time zone. Fish is plural. There is no such thing as fishes. Like there is no such thing as deers or mooses. Moose is plural. Deer is plural. Fish. You're swimming with the fish is plural. News is plural. You don't watch newses. There are certain words you don't make. They're already plural for is singular and plural, and fish is one of them. I'm swimming with the fishes. Okay? I'm hunting some deers. He's a diet troll. You're not trolling real hard, but I get it. It's kind of humorous. It's enough for me to keep responding to your comments, like diet trolling. Yeah, like Finding Nemo. All right, this guy. Oh yeah. So we're gonna do a little painting this morning. Ugh. Damn, man, I should have stretched before I came in here. This shit feel good as hell right now. Oh man. Yeah. I'm waiting for him to like really jump out there, but he don't want to. It's all good, man. You know what I'm saying? If he was belligerent, he would have just come in here on some real hardcore nut shit like most motherfuckers. Trump 2020, like. But he really fishing. That's why he is out there in the sea. Motherfucker ain't very smart, but he fishing hard as hell. But you already see I'm not the one, bro. So it's all good. You can sit around, enjoy some of this art, some of this education. You know what I'm saying? If you feel like you want to keep making comments, hey, more power to you. But it's early in the morning. It's just a couple of us in here right now. Let me work this brush for a little while. I'm gonna try to work around the eye a little bit in the glasses. I need some smaller brushes for that. Let me grab these, put these to the front. Put a little bit of black in here. Very, very little. I have some abstract stuff, but very little. The last self-portraits I did, they had like kind of abstract backgrounds to them, kind of like thoughts in motion. So why would I have done that? Shit. Son of a bitch. So this here. This background is like abstract. It's like, stop. I call this conscious conscience. It's hard to say. It's conscious conscience. You get it? Dude, thank you. So,
Oh, I didn't bring you anything.
It's kind of I don't know, man. It's my thoughts against the reality of the world.
Stop looking my hands.
You know, it's me being aware of myself, my inner self. It's you're conscious of your conscience. And so for me to do that, I felt like, you know, motion and color would work better than trying to do like some real background to it. And then this piece right here, I did a, if you remember this piece, that's kind of abstract in the background. This is something from nothing. And pondering like, you know, what was before. And so, one of the greatest questions of all time, something from nothing. But in order to like kind of get that concept the way I wanted it, I once again I just chose to use like an abstraction, because these are like your conscience is not a it's not tangible. You know, you can't touch your conscience. And this idea of creation is a abstract idea of, you know, why is there something rather than nothing? So I was supposed to put a third piece in that abstract series. I'm still playing around with the idea of adding something else to it. What do you want? Stop licking my hands. I'm not gonna love you right now.
I know, that's all she wanted. She stopped petting me. Let me go see if he gonna rub her.
Nope, I'm not gonna love you right now.
Oh, you hurt your feelings, baby. I swear, everywhere I go, she's my goddamn shadow. Really? It's your dog fur. Asshole. She like, what dogs you been around?
We gotta pay for a little while, guys. Oh, shit. Early morning streams. Early morning streams. Motherfucker, super nerd. This dude up watching some art show and playing video games. I ain't gonna talk no more shit about you though. But damn, who do that? Huh? Tell me, bro. Don't tell nobody this how you be starting your day out. What you do on your day off? Shit, I was up about 5 o'clock in the morning watching some painting show like Bob Ross. You remember that? But this black dude, he be painting, and I was playing Cyberpunk. You watching TV and playing video games? Yeah, that's how I do it. Hey, don't tell nobody that shit, bro. I'm telling you right now. I'm gonna tell people I got up. I went for a 5-mile jog. I boxed with a gorilla. You know what I'm saying? I swam 3 miles. And I had a medium rare steak for breakfast. That's how my day got started. Some manly shit. Nah, what you do this morning? I went up in the studio and paint. You did what? I was just painting.
What's my girl?
What the hell?
Babies cannot conceive of a God. I did not say that that proves that God doesn't exist. I didn't say it had anything to do with whether or not God exists. Babies don't have the ability to process concepts.
I understand that, but what I'm telling you is that
You understand? No. You just said that babies. You understand that babies can't understand concepts. Go. You said the good.
I did not. I said they could understand God. God is not a concept.
Okay, we're done, Connor. Because all understanding is conceptual. They cannot. If they can't understand the concept of God, then there is no comprehension of the actual God. Just like if I can't understand the concept of a horse, I don't understand a horse.
Right. And peekaboo works because babies don't have object provenance. So if they can't see it, they can't touch it, they can't sense it, it doesn't exist, then your God definitely doesn't exist to a baby.
I did not. Okay, you want to start over, Connor? You want to try again?
On a group chat on a video game.
That'd be great. I'd love to.
Sure. What God do you believe in? Give me a rough ballpark definition.
First of all, I want to make.
First of all, they see you already fucking up. He asked you a question, answer the question.
Goodbye, jackass. Thanks for wasting my time.
See? It's not even.
You identified yourself as a theist. Key. That means you believe in a God of some sort. You came in and argued babies can understand God because God isn't a concept. And now you say you don't believe in a God. Thank you for wasting everybody's time and showing what an unbelievable jackass you are, Connor.
I don't know when you get hungry for real food.
I can't get it.
Yeah.
Who waits on hold to say, I don't believe in a God? I can debunk atheism.
Right.
And atheism is a religion based on blind assumptions about a God that I don't believe in, that I think babies conceive of, but they can't because they can conceive of, or they can understand God, but they can't understand a concept. Connor might have one of the most broken, dishonest.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just way too far out there for me.
I'm trying to figure out exactly where to go next, and I want to make sure that, we've got so much here. Jim in the Faroe Islands, thanks for waiting.
In the Faroe
You're on with Jim.
Hi there. Yeah, hi. Now we're on with Jim and Matt.
Yeah.
So I was, I'm from a tiny country of like 50,000 people. And it's a very religious country in general, and my family is very religious as well. And the show partly helped me get out of that probably about 10 years ago. So I was wondering if there is a duty to challenge unfounded beliefs, like at social events, birthdays, family events, and so on. I've kind of struggled with that sometimes when there's like preaching at the dinner table, especially I'm thinking about impressionable people that are there as well, like maybe young children and stuff like that. Is there kind of a duty on me to challenge those unfounded beliefs for the benefit of them?
That's a good question. That's tough to answer. Like, who are you to step into a family's belief, yo?
I was wondering what your opinion about that is.
I mean, it's your own family, but your extended family. So if my sister want to raise my niece a certain way, and I'm at dinner and they're saying something about God, I'm not going to look at my niece and say, whoa, you should rethink what your mom is telling you.
I mean, yeah and no, because it's like, it's not your place.
Exactly.
Even if you are the brother and the uncle.
Exactly. Even, like, close relation, very close relation.
The grandparent.
And that's what he's saying. Like, shit, do I have a duty to, like, step in and say something
if they're walking them into a cult.
That's different, yeah.
Or like something, you know what I mean? Like Scientology. Like if somebody told me they wanted to join Scientology, I'd be like,
study that shit first. Look into it
first.
I'd be
like, you do know most of the people that come out of it say they were in a cult, right? Just like.
And that's what my stepson Jarrell said the one time he called me. He was like, yo, these Mormons just came to the house. I'm like, what? he was like, yeah, they're going door to door and telling about their religion, and it seemed kind of interesting.
Black Mormons?
It was 2 young white girls. There's not a lot of black Mormons.
That's what I would say. I've never seen a black. Out of all the things I've seen.
But he was like, oh, it sounded interesting. I don't know. They came in and we talked for a while. I'm like, look, dude, you need to look into it more than what they just told you. Every religion, and Mormonism is like some really recent shit. Bye. Did she go outside and poo and all that stuff?
Yeah, she peed again and all
what
that.
do you want?
And all the doors are shut, so
bye.
She's just gonna sit right in the hallway. But that rabbi lady who was like, the Bible doesn't have to be all the way true because
it has truth in it.
It's basically what she said.
It's a way of life.
A way of life.
Yeah.
Because just because it's a way of life doesn't make it true. Just because.
You want to finish listening to that one? That was because it's 4 people on there. It's 2 non-believers and 2 believers. And they have a really good debate. It's a really strong conversation,
yo. Except for the man, he was in his religion. The younger white lady, she was the most.
And everybody's from different, everybody has a real different take on it. I listened to that one twice already.
But like, I get it why people want to believe in a God, because like even me, like I pray, but it's like prayer is not specific to one religion or one thing. Like I just feel like that's a form of manifestation. So it's like we all got our beliefs.
It's just
shit. I believe in karma. I believe if you do some bad shit, eventually that shit is gonna fucking catch up to you. Because just because you can't see it don't mean it's real. Energy, you can't see it, but it's real. So it's like that's what I believe. But if somebody comes and says, hey, well, you can't prove that karma exists, I'd be like, you know what? You're right. I'm not about to argue with you about that shit. So it's just like, I don't know. I think people need to pick and choose their battles when they want to argue about shit. Like, there's nobody has ever met God or Jesus or Buddha or none of that.
They say it's all on what you believe, what you have been convinced to believe.
Where I could speak up if you want to hear that, but
I don't think there's a duty as an atheist to challenge things at a family event. I don't know. I mean, you could make a good case that as a good citizen of whatever society or country you're part of, that you might. But family events are tricky because families are tricky, right? The question is do you how far do you go? Do you want to keep that your family and friends or family and friends at the end of it? Yeah. But I don't know that there's really a duty, unlike religions from an atheist point of view, to quote unquote spread atheism. I'm on this show because I enjoy it, not because I feel like I have duty.
Yeah, but he's talking about not just like spreading atheism, but countering unfounded belief. I would say as a humanist that you have a duty, but that duty is also mitigated by the impact that it's going to have on your life. Much the same way that if somebody's standing in this street and there's a bus coming towards them, as long as it's not putting me at risk, I think as a humanist who professes to care about other people, I have a duty to help that person avoid being hit by the bus that's coming. If it would require me putting my life at risk, it's no longer a duty, but it may in fact be virtuous. That's about as close as I can get.
I can understand that. I often kind of, I often don't think of my own risk. I don't really care that much what people think of me, but like I love my mom, for example. She's very religious, but she's always been a wonderful mom, and I wouldn't want to I wouldn't want to put her in a position of like, I don't getting all these questions, what's up with Jim, and just, I kind of think of other people in my family before I think of myself in that regard, and I'm putting them in an uncomfortable situation in like the community, because it's such a small country. Like 50,000 people is the country, and like everyone knows everyone. So
I know everyone in my country.
Kind of, unneeded drama, but I also think that when I grew up and I was kind of
it's 50,000 people in the city.
I kind of wish someone spoke up around that kind of bubble. Someone was able to maybe punch a hole in that bubble sometime. Maybe I wouldn't have struggled so much with some of those thoughts growing up.
I know it's full of shit over there too.
Yeah, I get it. There are times where, for the sake of family, I'm probably going to keep my mouth shut on some things. But it depends on how egregious the thing is. Like if I'm in a family gathering and somebody's doing the, I'm trying to avoid political things. The pandemic is a fiction or a fraud or a hoax or whatever, then I think I do have a duty to correct that information. But the extent of it is going to be based on its impact to your life and what you're willing to do. For me, I'm happy to tell anybody, I don't care. Someone is blood related to me. That doesn't matter at all. I want people in my life, or good people, irrespective of whether or not we're closely related by blood. And so I'm happy to tell relatives and family at an event to go fuck themselves if they have really bad ideas and being dangerous. But you get to make that decision for yourself. And no, I don't consider it just a blanket, simplistic duty.
Yeah, I get that. Well, I wouldn't want to take up unnecessary time, but I'd love to just thank you for doing the show, and also shout out to the call screeners. They're doing an amazing job to keep this thing smooth. So.
Now you really got me want to look into that shit, yo.
Yeah, because I did that VR experience and all that shit.
And now other Jim.
48,000 people. So
where do you want to go? Because we're spoiled.
I think just start at the top and work our way down to the theist callers, and then come back and pick up the atheists if we get done. Sounds good. Enough theists to do that.
So is it? I think maybe pronounced Avishai, Maryland. Hey, how you doing? You're on with Jim and Matt.
Hello. Thank you. Honestly, I would just like to. Would you rather me start on the whole Exodus 21 thing, or with some other fact stuff?
Damn, there's a
what do you want to achieve here?
Well, one was set straight because for like the last week I've been, what's the word, correcting the contradictions, because none of them were contradictions. And two,
whoa. I don't know what hang on. I don't know what you're talking about. You say for the last week you've been correcting contradictions and none of them were contradictions. What contradictions are you talking about?
And to the Bible, my bad, to the Bible.
Okay, stop. Listen, slow down. Who presented contradictions? Did I present contradictions? Did Jim present contradictions?
I've heard you all plenty times across multiple videos say there are multiple contradictions in the Bible.
Okay, what contradiction have I specifically claimed that you would like to debunk?
She's not from there. She's not even white.
That's not what I was calling.
Then why the fuck are we talking about
that? Land give away, and it's just like
it's so pretty.
People come move here, come see.
Okay.
Let's pop
would you rather me start on?
I'd rather you start on whatever you want to talk about, so that we can address it.
Like, even how they dress like they're from another.
And regarding Exodus 21, isn't that at all talking about slavery? If you also know about the time of it, and what was it actually talking about, and the mistranslations given through what the Catholic Church published was regarding slavery. The church didn't put the word slavery in there.
No, sir.
Or what Exodus was talking about.
No, sir. It doesn't matter what word you put on it. You can call it slave, you can call it servant, you can call it whatever you like. The Bible specifically allows you to own people as property, correct?
Own property.
I'm sorry, what?
There's nothing on this property.
The Bible, no. The Bible allows you, and it says that the people, your slaves, your servants, whatever word you want to use, that they are your property. Right? So you're saying the Bible doesn't say that your slaves are your property?
Are you talking about Exodus 20?
Leviticus 22:11
See, I thought you've been studying this for the last week.
That's where if the priest buys a soul with money. Leviticus 25:44 through 46 says the bondmen and bondmaids which you shall have shall be the heathen that surround you. Of them you shall buy bondmen and bondmaids. For of the children of the strangers that do sojourn with you, of them ye shall buy, and of the families that are with you, they begat your land. And listen, and you shall take them as inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondman forever. That's what it says in Leviticus 25. Are you telling me the Bible doesn't say that?
You gotta read
Create
your own book, man.
crystal creations with Ooze Labs, colorful crystal labs. Set up and decorate your very own lab.
And then what they do is they read it and they say, well, what it's trying to say is the painting by Grant Wood, the farmer and his wife. It's called American Gothic. That shit is like the most famous picture, one of the most famous paintings ever, and everybody poses like the old dude with the pitchfork and the wife standing next to him. But yeah, this dude ain't read his Bible. Now Matt's about to trump him up with the scripture. The what? The what 15? The what? What?
Leviticus 25.
What scripture you just say?
What? So in other translations, and this sounds like it's telling the priest to eat the person.
It's telling the priest not to eat the person, actually. When you said the Bible doesn't say that your slaves are property, and then I point you to Leviticus 25 verses 44 through 46, where it does say that you're property. I'm sorry, what?
Saying, okay. This is saying if a priest has a slave, servant, whatever you would want to call it, that he...
No, that's not the verse. That's not the verse I'm talking about. Leviticus 25, right. Verses 44.
Leviticus 25, verses 22, 11.
No. Leviticus 25, verses 44 through 46. Read Leviticus 25, verses 44 through 46.
You all the time,
read those
bro.
to me from whatever Bible you prefer.
Read it yourself. We about to teach you right now.
No, that's another mistranslation. It actually is bond servant or servant, which entails that they either had a debt. The criminals are poor who put themselves into a criminal who had a...
Abishai, yes. I want you, Abishai, please stop. I want you to read to me Leviticus 25, verses 44 through 46.
Just read it.
Bible
Don't start doing other shit.
Okay, this is the King James. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaid, which thou hast had, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall you buy bondmen and bondmaids. Moreover, the children of the strangers that do so...
If they're in debt, then why are you buying them? You're going out to buy people, not people that were indebted to you.
Right. Among you, basically, those are that will be accompanying you in your house or live with you. You buy, and of the families that are with you, where they begat in your land, and they shall be your possessions.
They shall be your what? No, wait, what? They shall be your what? You just told me the Bible does not allow people to have other people as property. That's what possessions mean.
Okay. Do you not understand what mistranslation means?
Oh, so that is a mistranslation.
You can go argue with the people. Okay, continue. Read verse 46 too.
And they have the largest.
That was verse 46 and 44.
That was verse 45. You stopped at the end of verse 45. You don't even know your own fucking book.
My bad. You're right. Shall take them as inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for possession. They shall be bondmen forever. But,
forever.
Okay, this is even better.
Hang on.
Big man.
Do you acknowledge that a plain reading of your Bible that you shall own bondmen forever, they will be possessions that you can pass on to your children? You just read that. Do you acknowledge that that's what it says?
Acknowledge that if you read it directly from Leviticus, from these just two, it will be misinterpreted.
No, sir. That's the most dishonest thing you could have said.
Goodbye.
I asked you, do you acknowledge that a plain reading of this, the Bible states that you shall own those people as your possessions, that you can pass on to your children, and they will be your bondsmen forever? There's only a yes. That's a yes or no question. You agree that's what the Bible says?
Yes or no?
Move forward with Leviticus for those 3 verses, then yes, I will agree with that.
Sure. So when I said that the Bible allowed people to own people's property and pass that property on to their children, I was correct, right?
Yeah. Okay, how about I clear up?
How about we just move on to another call? You do some investigative study so that you learn a little bit more about your Bible. And if you want to make a case later on that there's a mistranslation, you can do so.
I at least clarify with Exodus 21.
What about Exodus 21?
I wasn't ready for Leviticus.
It says, okay, if you go by the King James, it's saying if you buy the servant, who would be either a criminal or poor, who puts...
You don't know that, you don't know that, you don't know that, you don't know that. That is a dishonest fucking lie. Specifically says that you should buy your servants from heathen that surround you. It doesn't say that you're buying people who necessarily owe a debt, but in any case, owing a debt doesn't mean that you get to own someone as property.
And later it literally says, after they serve that time, they can choose to stay with you forever. They choose to stay with you forever.
No. Abishai.
They choose to stay with you forever. Of course, pass down to your children.
No, Abishai, you're not reading. See, 21 talks about the rules for slavery, the rules for servants, but it starts with the rules for Hebrew servants. Hebrew servants you can only keep as your servants for 7 years, and then you have to let them go. They decide to stay with you forever. But if you go down and scroll down a little bit further, talking about slaves that aren't Hebrew slaves, it specifically says that those slaves are your property. You have to let them go after 7 years.
Where's the bank?
Sorry, I'm not here to read your entire fucking book for you. You're the one that called to tell me I was wrong.
You're wrong, so I want you to try to prove to me why I'm wrong.
Oh, all right, you little jackass. You ready? Buckle up. I've already produced an entire video on my channel about slavery that goes through it verse by verse for Exodus 21 and Leviticus 25 and more. But if you read Exodus 21 and you read what it actually says, there are rules for Hebrew servants where you can then trick your slave into becoming your slave forever. That's verses basically 1 through 7, or 1 through 6. By the way, verse 7 is very special because it says, if a man sells his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do, which means even among Hebrews, you only have to let the men go after 7 years. You've got to keep the women forever. And if she doesn't please your master who betrothed her, that she can be redeemed. But basically, we're talking about sex slaves. And then when you continue down into verse 20, if a man smite his servant or his maid with a rod, and he die under his hands, he shall be punished. But in verse 21, if he continue a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. Exodus 21, verse 21, says that you can beat your slave as long as they don't die within a couple of days. There's no punishment because that slave is your property. I'm sorry that you haven't read this. I'm sorry that you've been lied to. I'm sorry that people have told you that this is all indentured servitude and we're making a big deal out of it. It's a false translation or it's a wrong translation. It's an error. But the fact of the matter is the Bible says you can own people, that there are different rules for Hebrew slaves than there are for other slaves, that you can beat them as long as they don't die within a couple of days, that they are your property that can be passed on to your children. All of this is there. Earth, does the Bible say, that could convince anyone it is opposed to slavery? Didn't Jesus correct this? This is Old Testament stuff. Why didn't Jesus show up and say, hey, all that bad information that you got out of the Old Testament about slavery, back to all of that? Jesus too stupid to do that? Was he too immoral to do that? Where's the correction that says thou shalt not own another person's property? I'm sorry you don't know your book very well. You know what? If you don't care anymore, you're not going to try, you can fuck off. That's a dishonest way to end it. You just got owned. called in to correct me on slavery. The no one topic that I've discussed more than anything ever.
Anything
and ever.
like,
oh well, I don't care. I don't even.
That's his. He says that's my go-to because it's the easiest thing to prove that the Bible is
if
immoral.
you're an atheist and you're
God
calling
says
in to
you
try to
can
make
own
us look
people.
good,
That's not a good God.
You know the Bible better than the average caller. You don't have to do that.
I go to that shit all the time. Don't fuck with me with the slavery part of the Bible because that is the most blatant part. It is outright wrong. Well, back then things were different, so it was okay to own people back then, huh? Has there ever been a time where it's been okay to own people? No, it has not.
Then the golden question is always, do you want to be owned as a slave?
Exactly. Well, if we go by the laws of the Bible, let you be my servant under the laws of the Bible then.
Right.
Oh, I don't want that. Exactly, you don't want that.
I'm assuming you're an atheist, Matt.
I'm assuming you're an atheist.
You don't have to assume. The show's called The Atheist Experience. I'm on the board of directors for the Atheist Community of Austin and American Atheists. I've called myself an atheist for years. Why on earth would you assume that I'm an atheist?
Well, I barely know you, but I'll get straight on to this. So I take the position that God exists. The evidence is all around us. That was my opener of 3 sentences.
Hang on.
No, you can respond.
No. First thing you need to do is define what God you're talking about, and then you can present your 3 sentences, and as long as they're not too long, and we'll respond.
We are talking God in general.
God in general.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
when I ask you to define something, it's because people have different definitions of that and different usages for the term. I need to know what yours is. We just went over this in the last 2 calls ago. I'm not defining a God. You are. So you need to define the God that you believe in and then argue.
The creator of the universe.
What does that mean? The creator of the universe. What are its properties? Is it a thinking being? Is it an agent? Does it still exist? What?
An eternal prime mover, because every worldview has to account for the very first movement.
No, because you can say, I don't know. You say an eternal prime mover.
No problem. Hang on, you should have no problem responding to my opener. Only 3 sentences.
Philip, can you not give me a definition of a God?
God is an eternal and infinite in size prime mover.
Infinite in size? How? Infinite in size. Is it a thinking agent?
Consciousness.
Wow. So is like English your first language?
Or no?
Because thinking agent, you could have just said yes, but instead you said it's a consciousness. That's what a thinking agent is.
Eternal. I'm giving you the attributes. So
Well, if it's an infinite size, just real quick, if we go back to the infinite size thing, how does it fit inside the universe if its size is infinite? Because
it transcends the universe, but I don't know how to be infinite anyway. But
all right,
infinite in size.
So right now the properties we have are that it is eternal, infinite in size.
Yeah,
and it's a conscience.
God of the Bible. Look, we'll discuss the God of the Bible, but I have to convince you God first.
Philip, did I say anything at all about the God of the Bible? Why? Please listen to me, Philip. Please, I'm begging you. I am so fucking frustrated by people calling in. Shut up.
So bad.
Shut up.
I'm going to put you on mute.
Listen, I begged you to please listen to me so that you could make your point. Do you want me to hang up? Is that the goal?
Okay.
No.
Then listen to me. Shut up and listen, okay? Constantly, people call in and they want to defend a notion of God.
Because people be simple-minded. You don't know how to. It's a conversation. You say something. Okay,
so you were talking past each other.
Because I don't. So far, I don't agree with what you're saying. Let's discuss this part.
What characteristics of a God you're advocating
for?
I
just want you to understand
you have a God that is eternal, infinite, and consciousness. Are there any other properties of God that you are getting ready to argue for?
And then we can go forward.
A non-physical prime mover, not contingent on matter.
Okay.
Do you know what matter is?
Oh my God! Don't be condescending, bro.
Prick.
Yeah, don't be condescending.
You never heard.
Oh, bye.
All right. I'm tired of people who think they're so smart that they just, oh my God. Do you know what matter is? I know one thing, you don't matter.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not contingent on matter. Do you know what matter is?
Wade in South Carolina, you're on with Jim.
Come on, South Carolina. Come with it, bro.
Hey, how are y'all doing?
Oh, damn.
Frustrated as hell.
Frustrated as hell.
That color was a little strange. Okay, so here's my question. So I've been reading Sam Harris's The Moral Landscape.
Yes.
And I'm an atheist. And I'm not exactly convinced of his argument because, see, I understand that one of our highest wants is our maximal well-being for ourselves. But the question is, like, why should we necessarily care about the well-being of other people? And I've heard people ask you before, Matt, and you said because it's in your own interest.
No. If you're asking what is the imperative, what is the should, there is none. No should. There is no imperative. It is just, hey, this is in fact in your best interest. Not enough.
Okay.
That it's in your best interest.
It is. So for me, so I might bring up veganism a little bit here.
No, you won't.
The thing is.
No, you won't.
Okay. I won't. I'm just wondering if I'm satisfied with my life right now, and I wrong someone else.
Yo,
and I'm
guys?
still satisfied with my life.
I'll put the camera back in a few.
Moral obligation was
Let me
there
see if
for
I
me
get a little bit more
to,
done on these glasses
to treat that
and
person
her
properly.
eyebrow real quick.
I don't understand your question. Whether or not you're satisfied with it, like somebody could run around chopping people's heads off and be satisfied with it. That's independent of whether it is in our best interest, in our well-being. Your personal satisfaction with how you is not the issue.
Never mind.
I can roll up, babe.
That's okay.
So,
I ain't even had nothing to eat yet.
The way I kind of understand morality as a whole might be to maximize well-being of yourself and the community around you. And I think it ultimately, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it ultimately boils down to
I could probably have some cereal.
Maximize your own well-being, and societal well-being might be important to or vitally important to your own well-being. So
of course it is.
But does that work for most? So like an example, and like correct me if I'm going down the wrong path. Maybe like 200 years ago, slavery. Like slave owners may have been content with their life, and their well-being may not be as good as it could be if slavery wasn't instituted. But
Wade, I already answered this. Whether or not they're content with their life or satisfied with their life isn't fucking relevant. Slavery. Okay. We now know for everyone, including the slave owners. In the short term, it looks and feels like they're getting a benefit from it, and they do, but that doesn't mean that their life is actually better. A world that allows individual freedom, because one of your slaves that you don't allow to do anything other than,
Did this motherfucker just say 200 years ago slaves were content with being slaves? Is that what people think? This dude is from South Carolina? Is that what he really thinks? That we were content with being slaves? Really? So you never heard of Nat Turner? Or the other 20 slave revolts in the Carolinas that helped push towards the end of slavery? Or Denmark Vesey? Because we were content with being slaves? I don't think so. Or the slave revolts in Jamaica? 200 years ago they were content. No.
Wondering if I'm satisfied with my life right now, and I wrong someone else, and I'm still satisfied with my life. what necessarily moral obligation was there for me to treat that person properly?
I don't understand your question. Whether or not you're satisfied with it, chopping people's heads off and be satisfied with it, that's independent of whether it is in our best interest, in our well-being. Your personal satisfaction with how you is not the issue.
Okay. So the way I kind of understand morality as a whole might be to maximize well-being of yourself and the community around you. And I think it ultimately, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it ultimately boils down to if it maximizes your own well-being, and societal well-being might be important to or vitally important to your own well-being. So
of course it is.
But does that work for most? So like an example, and like correct me if I'm going down the wrong path. 200 years ago, slavery. Like slave owners may have been content with their life, and their well-being may not be as good as it could be if slavery wasn't instituted. But
Wade, I already answered this. Whether or not they're content with their life or satisfied with their life isn't fucking relevant.
Okay, the slave owner.
Slavery, we now know, is bad for everyone, including the slave owners. In the short term, it looks and feels like they're getting a benefit from it, and they do, but that doesn't mean that their life is actually better. That allows individual freedom, because one of your slaves that you don't allow to do anything other than, pick crops and take a beating could be the person that cures the cancer that's going to kill you.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I just wasn't super satisfied with that, and thank you for your answer. I was looking for your input, so thank you very much.
Sure.
That was weird, and I don't know. That was kind of weird.
Jim, I'm talking too much.
You're having fun, so...
Yeah, but I want you to have fun. So, are you looking at Collins Studio? You steer. You steer the call and the conversation. I will jump in when I just can't stand to not.
Okay. All right. Paul in Michigan, trying to figure out why slavery are wrong under an atheist worldview, and discussing morality is what I've got here. Atheism isn't a worldview. Does that answer your question?
No, I'm not saying that atheism is a worldview. What I'm asking is, if you do not have a moral arbiter, regardless of whether it's a Christian God or some other being, I believe in the Christian God, the Bible, but if
So you're fine with slavery?
What?
So you're fine with slavery then?
No, I'm not fine with slavery, but I do...
The Bible is...
You're picking your Bible.
The Bible is, and it portrays it as being of God. Can you point to anything in the Bible where God says he's against slavery as opposed to in favor?
It doesn't ask if slavery is wrong or right or wrong from a Christian perspective. The question I'm asking is from your perspective.
I know.
You have no standard.
And what Matt
was asking the last call? Because I answered it during the last call. I literally answered it during the last call. That from a purely selfish perspective, and because we know what the impact of slavery is, we know that the world is better off if we don't have slavery.
Right. And your moral arbiter that you're claiming that your morals come from supports slavery according to his book. So I'm not sure that I want to pick your God, the God of the Bible, as a moral arbiter that I'm willing to follow.
Here's the reason why I say this. If it is just to my best interest, then there should be nothing wrong with the Israelites holding slaves or any other culture, because every culture thought at that time it was right. So what's your issue with it? That's my question.
They were wrong.
So not only do we have the issue that here's the thing, Paul. I explained this in the last call, which you might not have heard. Yes, in the short term, slave owners convinced that owning slaves is in their best interest. But we know that it doesn't actually produce a better world. It produces a worse world, particularly a worse world for the slaves. You said, essentially that everybody thought it was in their best interest. No, they didn't. The slaves didn't. And they should have known better. At the end of the day, you know who should have really known better? A God. Should have known better, and yours didn't. He doesn't exist.
Okay, he does exist.
Prove it.
You would have to disprove Jesus.
No, I don't have to disprove shit. If you say God exists, prove God exists.
Jesus did exist, and to say he didn't exist, and that's who my God is, to say he didn't exist, you would be hard pressed to find evidence to disprove it. Even Bart Ehrman.
You're getting the burden of proof wrong. You're making the claim. We're telling you to prove it. We don't have to disprove anything. All we have to do is ask you, prove it. And if you're going to point to the Bible is the claim, not the proof. Okay. So show us your proof.
Okay, well, Josephus, one of the Jewish historians who was totally against Christianity,
proof of Jesus,
said that he had.
Josephus said that these people were talking about a God.
Yeah, that's a flat lie. Josephus does not say he has verified proof that Jesus exists. As a matter of fact, in Josephus's work, passage that mentions Jesus explicitly is considered to be a forgery, but even that doesn't say he has proof that Jesus existed. You are exaggerating Josephus.
No, it's not considered to be a forgery, even by atheist historians.
It is. Testimonium Flavium. It is the most contentious passage in there because it breaks the narrative, and it doesn't say as proof of Jesus. It breaks in the middle of a conversation.
Well, it's not just him, though. It's Typhon.
Okay, no. You came with Josephus. I just countered Josephus. Are you going to acknowledge that what you said about Josephus wasn't true? Or are you just going to move on to the next thing that's not true?
No. That passage, which was contested, is even by Bart Ehrman and many other historians.
I don't give a fuck what Bart Ehrman says. I know the man. I've moderated debates with him. What Bart Ehrman says is irrelevant. He could be wrong, couldn't he?
He could be, yes.
No, stop citing people as if they're authorities and if they should be, this is true because an authority said so, because that is a fallacy.
Okay, well, then let's take the gospel writers.
Who are they?
We used to believe, by early tradition, Mark was written by John Mark, and is the stated by Peter.
Yeah. The Gospels are anonymous and unsigned. We have no idea who wrote them. It's a matter of church tradition that certain names were appointed to them. We have no idea who wrote them, nor do we have any good reason to think they were eyewitnesses.
Idea.
No.
Matthew was written. We have good reason to believe that Matthew was written by Matthew.
No, we don't. Here, let me open a Bible for you, since you don't seem to be capable of opening and reading it. But on the very first page of the Bible here, so does your Bible include information about authorship? Because there is no known author. We don't know who the author is for Matthew. Say it's not signed. We have no original copies, and it almost certainly isn't an eyewitness testimony.
You're right. We don't have any original copies of the books of Matthew, Mark, or Luke.
Or anything in the Bible. We have no originals for anything in the Bible.
No, here's what we do know. We do know that John was actually originally thought to have been written in the 200s, the 2nd century. But we did find a poster stamp size manuscript of John 18 that was dated to be about 90 to 150, somewhere in there.
Right. You can go to earlychristianwritings.com and get all of this information. But the one thing it'll also tell you is that we don't know who the authors are. So stop saying we do.
Well, okay, I'll give you according to church tradition. We have very
church?
These authors, the ones that are claimed, are the original authors.
There is no
evidence.
Wow.
The manuscript.
I'm going to shut up now, Paul, and I'm not going to say another word. This is between you and Jim, because you want to cite Bart Ehrman when it's convenient and ignore him because he would tell you that the Gospels are anonymous, no originals, we have no idea who wrote them. I don't care what church tradition says, and I don't care if you produced the author of the Gospel of Mark, marched him into my room, and he said that he was an eyewitness and told me that would not be sufficient evidence to conclude that Jesus is divine or that there is a God. So you're trying to accomplish something that even if you marched the person in here, you could not accomplish. And you're trying to do it with anonymous copies of translations of copies that we know have been altered.
We know where the alterations happen. We know where the...
No, we don't, sir. You cannot know that if you don't have an original, which you already acknowledged we have originals for none of it. So you can't know.
We have 53,000, we have 5,000 copies of the New Testament alone. Manuscripts.
Complete copies and 5,000 is what you're claiming.
There's more than that.
The original.
There's more than that. There's more than that produced every fucking year. You have no originals. But you can't say how much the versions that you have are different from the originals, can you?
You can recreate from what we have that we know.
How do you recreate something that may have been modified back to the original without knowing what the modifications are?
Because if I have, let's say I write something down, right? Or let's say we find a piece, we get it original. You and I both write down a copy of Plato's writings, right?
What do we write it down from, Paul?
Mistakes.
What do we write it down from? What are we basing it on?
We're copying Plato's student, okay?
We don't have the original?
Student.
We don't have the original?
He's doing a hypothetical, Matt. So hypothetically, you and I...
Hypothetically, why would God want you to do hypotheticals and try to piece things together? Why hasn't God preserved his word like he said he would?
Yes, that's...
He has not. He has not. The fact that you're trying to piece copies of copies means that God did not preserve it, did he?
No, it does not mean that. What it means is that he didn't want us to worship those pages like we do.
Oh, this argument again. No, so, yeah, until you have the originals, you cannot, from copies that have errors, recreate the original. The only thing you can say is, here are the oldest copies that we have, and here are where they differ. But what you don't know is are those copies of copies, how many copies between the oldest copy you have and the original were there? And if you don't know that, you can't recreate the original at all. And, you know, once you start making changes, and you're constantly making changes to this text, at what point does that text become a completely new text?
I would agree with you if that were the case. It's not like a case of telephone. This is...
Sure it is. Do you know why it's a case of telephone? What was the most common way of exchanging information or telling people about their ancestors before they started writing stuff down?
Yeah.
Yeah, and guess what? That's telephone. So before you even get to writing things down, you have an oral tradition. In fact, you have an oral tradition from the days of Jesus Christ until the stuff got written down. And so you have a game of telephone happening before you even write stuff down. So even if you could produce an original, unless that original was written by one of the direct apostles, then you have problems with eyewitness testimony, which you should probably go investigate, because eyewitness testimony is probably the worst form of testimony you could possibly have. So you're still got problems.
Here's the issue though. We know that the earliest manuscripts that we have of John date somewhere to between 90 and 150 AD.
Which is a generation after, and is written from the oral tradition, which is a game of telephone. So even if you can produce the original, we don't know that that was the original eyewitness testimony.
Well, let me ask you this. What do we know about Plato?
Oh, from the writings. That's all we know about him.
Okay.
And other people's writings about him.
Who wrote down? Yes. Who wrote down the writings about Plato?
His students and other people. But again, this doesn't. So again, we're not debating. We don't have to debate whether or not a man named Jesus actually existed. But what we are debating is whether or not the supernatural elements of his existence actually happened. So if somebody all of a sudden started saying that Plato rode a horse into heaven, I'd have a problem with that. Right? We're not debating whether or not Jesus actually exists. We're debating whether or not Jesus had any supernatural abilities. And guess what? You can't do that from the originals. But we also can't necessarily say that there was one Jesus. There may have been several people who got lumped into this one character, which happens a lot in the oral tradition. We go back to, once you've got these oral traditions and you start writing about them, you don't have the original, and therefore we don't have eyewitnesses, and therefore all of your testimony, all of your evidence is suspect. Because we only have the eyewitnesses that are in the supposed eyewitnesses that are in the Bible. With Plato, we have enough people writing about him and enough students writing about him to conclude he probably existed.
That is the gist.
But
Notice the word probably.
Eric, nobody's saying you need to believe in Plato because he's magical and will save you from eternity. So it's irrelevant. Plato could be a fiction and wouldn't change a thing, because what I judge about Plato is his words, the words that are attributed to him, whether he's real or not. Just like I can judge Voldemort's words, whether he's real or not, and I can judge Jesus' words, whether he's real or not, and I can judge God's word, whether he's real or not. I'm not advocating for Plato or for being a servant of Plato. You're coming here and suggesting that there is a God that you can't prove, that the Bible is evidence of it when you have no originals. You don't have a path to show.
But let me ask you, when did oral traditions cease and tradition?
Oral traditions have never ceased. What difference does it make when oral traditions cease? Do you have
the written down tradition started back before the time of Jesus.
It took me a minute to find a video and read it. That's what I've been here doing the whole time. I see him do that shit. Like, bro, let me find my video real quick.
What difference?
So then you're it doesn't matter whether oral tradition was good or not. Who says that someone was not there writing down?
His legs ain't really straight enough.
You know, I'm not saying
his bar is way too low. Like,
writings come from oral tradition. So oral tradition is
move.
To transmit actual facts, and it isn't, then what good are the oral or the written traditions based on the oral?
Let me stop fucking with people like that.
Hey, babe.
Okay. Yeah.
It doesn't matter if Jesus himself wrote a gospel, signed it, cut his finger, put his own blood stamp on it. None of that would prove that Jesus was fucking magical, would it?
No, say something. Exactly.
I'm not saying he's magical. I'm saying he's.
You don't think Jesus is magical?
The point of Scripture.
You don't think Jesus is magical? How do you turn water into wine? How do you raise the dead? How do you walk on water? That's magic.
Fine. No, man.
Okay. Fine. Stop, Paul. If Jesus himself wrote a gospel,
Pastor Sir, ain't
took
nobody
a photograph on it and stamped his blood, that doesn't mean he's divine. I mean, anything in that is actually true, does it?
The resurrection means that he's divine.
You haven't. Paul. Why can you not answer the question that I asked? Why is it that every time I have a conversation with theists, they refuse to answer the question I ask?
All right, let me work on their nose a little bit.
If Jesus himself wrote a gospel and signed it in blood, does that mean that what that gospel says is in fact
go through
true?
my camera. Get some more pictures out.
Understand? Is that no or a yes?
It was enough.
Okay.
Hang on.
Okay.
You just admitted that even if Jesus wrote a gospel, blood, that wouldn't mean that what the gospel says is true. So what evidence do we have that the gospel are true?
We have the historical manuscripts. We can recreate the life.
No, you can't recreate the originals.
So when I asked you, even if Jesus himself wrote it down, that wouldn't mean it's true. And when I ask you what evidence you have, you go to other people's writings that are not firsthand, that also would not be true, right? Where is the evidence?
You'd be looking for, because the evidence that I have is Jesus saying that he would die, rise from the dead.
You have no evidence that Jesus actually said that or that he actually did it. What you have is a story. Where is the evidence?
And that's the thing. We have the manuscripts, enough manuscripts to recreate and to prove that Jesus didn't.
No, you don't.
No, we've been over this.
You don't just stack up anecdotes and come up with a proof. No matter if everybody on the planet, Paul, everybody on the planet right now, except for me, convinced that they had experienced God, does that mean they're right and I'm wrong? Okay, so now we're in a situation, this is perfect. I'm literally the only person on the planet in this fictional scenario that does not believe in God. Not come to me and say, he believed in God, he believed in God, he believed in God, he believed in God, because none of that should convince me, right? Convince anybody.
You're absolutely right.
Good.
Then
what you're saying is you have no evidence. Nothing that should convince anyone. Because all you keep pointing to
what I'm saying
is testimony.
And here's the thing, when you're dealing with historical evidence, that's pretty much all you have is testimony for any
Paul,
or any,
Paul, yeah. Listen very carefully. I'm trying to help you out. Said this is the way historical evidence works, that this is the most you have. However, that's true for historical evidence in general. Could God present evidence right now?
Absolutely.
And stop whining and pretending that we only have the historical evidence. If God is in fact real, God should be able to demonstrate it right now. Why doesn't God do that?
He does.
No, he doesn't.
This is the thing. I didn't want to bring up anecdotal evidence or evidence from
anecdotal? I think you mean anecdotal, which is all we've been talking about for the entirety of this call.
But here's the thing. No, I don't want to bring out personal experiences. I could tell you my testimonies of why.
I'm not interested in your testimony. We've already agreed that shouldn't convince anybody. I asked you why God doesn't prove it. I want to pretend that this is where we're stuck at, because, it's the way history works. We only have copies of copies. We don't have anything. If there were a God, God could provide original manuscripts to everybody on the planet right now. God would be smart enough to know that he shouldn't be providing manuscripts at all, because the written word is not anywhere near as strong as God showing up and talking to everyone right now. And you think that your God wants you to piece together a story and make it seem reasonable. Doesn't God just fucking prove it?
Jesus came 2,000 years ago.
No, sir.
You're making a claim. We're asking for evidence. We keep going over the same thing, right? It's just over and over again. You keep going back to the Bible, and we keep telling you the Bible is the claim, not the evidence. And then we discuss why it's the claim and not the evidence, because you've got a bunch of manuscripts for which we do not have the original. We cannot recreate the original from the changes. And all of those originals are done after the fact and are part of an oral tradition, which gets us into serious problems. So, again, where is your evidence? Quit pointing to the Bible. Quit talking about the Bible. Don't mention the Bible again.
What I asked was, why doesn't God prove it right now?
He did 2,000 years ago with Jesus. Right now.
Yes, that's the question.
He does prove it right now. He does.
How?
I've seen miracles done in his name.
What miracle have you seen done, and how do you know that it came from a God?
During slavery versus God.
Broke my back in 5 places and walked to the hospital 2 days later after we prayed about it. No pain,
You're
pain,
You're back in 5 places. You're back in 5 places. Walked out of the hospital 2 days later because you prayed. Did the doctors treat you at all?
Yeah. Pain medication, no.
Just healed. And you have the x-rays to prove, like, you walked in, here's breaks, and 2 days later the breaks were just gone?
Bye.
You have the x-rays from when you walked in with 5 broken...
The x-rays of the break, I don't...
What's that?
I have the x-rays of the break, if that's what you want to see, yes.
You have the x-rays from 2 days later when the breaks are all gone? And you don't even have the beginnings of a hope of a wisp of a miracle. And let's say, for example, that you walked in with 5 broken bones in your back, and 2 days later you walked out. How do you know that God did that?
Because of my faith in him, because I believe
I don't give a shit about faith. I'm asking about evidence. You get to cite, here's God's proof, he healed me of a broken back. Because that's not the true story. The true story is you think God healed you from a broken back, but you cannot demonstrate that.
God healed me while I was in the hospital.
Not a reasonable satisfaction. Only a faithful who just believes whatever they already believe would accept that. The rest of us want evidence. Why won't God... And by the way, my question, sir, was why won't God prove it now? You claim he did. Then which is not now, that's past. You claim he does, and you have a backstory that you cannot prove, you cannot tie to God. So answer my real question.
I'm over.
Why won't God prove it right now?
I'll push the motherfucker out and then go back in, and I gotta push him out
again. Because with the proof that he would bring, you wouldn't even buy it. I mean,
that's a load of shit.
They were trying to turn him.
Speculating. Why won't God prove it?
They let his legs go for 1 second. His little ass just...
I'm speculating, but if you, for instance... Luke 16, Jesus gives the parable of Lazarus and the rich.
I'm done.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
I don't need another
that shit
fucking
fucked up my concentration just now. At first I thought that shit was like fake. Like
I did too.
Can
you imagine?
Like is somebody pulling the toy baby from the other side? Like
imagine a girl giving birth, and then the first time the baby come out, they're like, oh, gotta do it again.
What the fuck?
4th time. Oh, okay, 4th time, we got it.
He keeps going back in there.
So 35?
Sure. All right, but
Varia in the UK? How do you pronounce your name?
Hello. It's Varia.
Varia. Okay.
It's from Latin, old Persian name, from Veritas, truth.
See how those motherfuckers know their history, their name, where it comes from. Man, I wish they do. It's from Latin, from Veritas. Motherfucker.
I recently had a debate with a friend who's a theist, and he was trying to justify that believing in some sort of supernatural can be not rational. I mean, you can say that it can be rational, so you can't say just it's irrational and you don't have the means to do that. And his example was, I don't know if Matt agrees with this, but his starting point was from logical absolute. I know that Matt has had this debate with the other guy who I can't remember, and I'm not going through his line of argument, but the whole argument was that if we believe in A equals A, just because it's always been true through the whole history of human life, then it's a form of faith that we have in it, because we've never seen it to be A equals A.
Yeah. So there's a couple of different definitions of faith. Generally speaking,
yes.
Theists like to use as faith means confidence in the absolute absence of certainty. But that's true of everything, because I don't think that we have certainty about anything, yet we can have confidence in many things. Faith being the evidence, as in, like, as Hebrews 11:1 says, that's a different thing. But the A equals A, we see the evidence for that all time. The only thing we can't do is show that it is is necessarily always true. It is a presupposition that we have to accept that reason is reasonable. But it's not like we're believing something without evidence. What we have is a pattern that has never been violated. And the instant that it is violated, the instant that we can show that something violates this, then we stop accepting it. So our acceptance of it is tentative based on further information.
So we can test the A equals A in this world, and we haven't found any case against it. Therefore, I mean, I agree that's a rational belief. If we believe in afterlife, well, we agree that we can't disprove this belief.
No. I think we can disprove this belief. I think that the soul, the notion of the soul, was an essential component of an afterlife, is the most obviously flawed aspect of theology. There is not only is there zero evidence that anything that makes me survives my death. We don't have an example of a consciousness absent a brain, and everything about me is malleable. You suffer brain damage or do something else, you can change my likes, my preferences, my memories, everything. And so all the evidence points to when I'm dead, it's over. No evidence to, hey, there's an afterlife. Because the components that people attribute to a soul are identifiable functions of the brain. The only component of a soul that is not an identifiable function of a brain, as far as I'm aware, it can exist outside the body, and that's never been proven. So the only thing about a soul isn't a brain, is something that can't be proven.
I agree. Right. There is no evidence for soul, but he was mostly thinking of being rational in justifying, in believing in an afterlife, because if, let's say, there is a case of, we actually brought up this example by Matrix, that when you believe that you're in the Matrix, then you can break the laws, and then you can jump. But if you know that you're still in the Matrix, but you don't actually truly believe it, you can't jump. So therefore, if in your life you truly believe that there is an afterlife, then you can have this transformation, like your consciousness can go through this phase.
This is a load of speculative bullshit, which is why that we're using the Matrix. To say, oh, well, maybe there's an afterlife and we don't know yet, and maybe when you get to the point where you can experience an afterlife, then you're done here, which is why there's no evidence for it. Okay, let's call it post hoc rationalization. It's not rational. It's not reasonable. What is the evidence for an afterlife?
Yes, that's how I think. It's just that, as an atheist, I truly want to be honest with the arguments that I hear, and I truly thought that if A equals A, we take it on faith, and
we don't take it on faith. Faith is not the same as a necessary presupposition that is backed by all the evidence. Like every bit of evidence we have ever been able to examine conforms perfectly to A equals A. It's not just something we pulled out of our ass. Reasonable presupposition. We just cannot prove that it is absolute and inviolate.
Right, and if we did, then we would have to change the way we think about almost everything.
See, I don't know what you mean by saying if we accept A equals A, then also we could accept an afterlife and can be considered rational. Because
the reason I thought that we can accept afterlife if we accept A equals A is that the whole process of this proposition to be true, that there is an afterlife, this proposition, the whole process to be true is that I have to live my life, and then after it's finished, then I experience afterlife and no one else can. Therefore,
Whoa. What the hell makes you think that's the definition of an afterlife?
I don't think he was actually arguing for a god or afterlife that soul exists in it, or it was some sort of, existence of...
And that's why I love these debates, because there's so many different ways that people think about life and the afterlife, God, and different types of God, creation and the origins, and this guy has his own fucking take of the afterlife. It's like,
you can actually link it to philosophical...
Everybody thinks something fucking different.
If this reality I mean, if we truly believe that there can be another reality, it's like living in a matrix. So if you
No, sir. The fact that you believe there could be another reality has no bearing on whether or not there is another reality, correct?
Of course, yes.
So why would you say that because we can believe in another reality, it does?
It's not that I choose to believe that, but I mean, those people who believe in it.
I don't care about people who believe in it. You're calling about whether or not a belief in the afterlife is rational. I'm trying to figure out how there could be a rational belief in the afterlife.
This guy hangs TVs.
That's the argument I was thinking of, that if a theist brings up this argument, is that a valid argument for being rational? I mean, so I can accuse someone of being irrational if he believes in the Quran or the Bible, because I can bring up lots of evidence that these books
everything I mount,
but if
I hang on it.
Believe in something that I can never dispute in this life.
If it's unfalsifiable, one should not, cannot have a rational belief about it.
You know as much as I do,
right.
Definition: an unfalsifiable proposition is one for which there cannot be a rational position other than it is unfalsifiable, and therefore I'm not going to take up a position.
Yes, that's great. So yes, if something is unfalsifiable, so it's irrational to believe in it, yes.
Because basically, if something's unfalsifiable, that means there's no way to prove it's wrong. And so now you're saying, I'm going to believe something, and there's no way you can prove me wrong. But you also can't be proven right. If it's not falsifiable.
Yeah, I know that's burden of proof, and you talk about it all the time. So I probably this was a bit different from the burden of proof, because they claim that that's something that it can never be tested. A equals A can never be tested in this.
A equals A can be tested. It's just not necessarily falsifiable that A equals A absolutely in an inviolate sense, which is not what we're advocating. Science, by the way, isn't proclamations of truth. It's tentative propositions that are subject to revision.
This thing is recorded, though. It doesn't mean
it. That's what I thought. All our epistemology, I mean, all our logic is based on A equals A, or on these logical absolutes. So when we're being rational, we are actually appealing to the first truth that we appeal to. I mean, do you agree with that?
I don't even know what you mean.
4 months later?
Being rational, we appeal to the first truth that we appeal to? What's that mean?
Chain of reasonings. A chain of, probably the chain of reasonings that they go down to the first true proposition that we've accepted, which is A equals A. I think that's where the rationality comes from.
Right. We have all kinds of evidence that A equals A is true. So far, every attempt to prove it is untrue has failed. If it ever was, and so it's descriptive of the world we see around us, not prescriptive of the world that we see around us. So I'm not seeing where you're getting that A equals, that accepting is true that A equals A is the same as accepting is true that there is an afterlife. Because we have evidence that A equals A is true, and that A equals B does not appear to be true in any meaningful way that we've found so far. So I don't know how you're equating this to an afterlife for which we don't even begin to have a way to
She's about to go make some syrup.
Right? I can take two objects and go, these two objects are not the same.
Maple.
Right? But this object is itself, so A equals A. I can look at that and do that. How do I do that with something like the afterlife? How do I even know that anything of me exists after I die, given that all the evidence we have today says that everything that is me is based on the meat, based on my physical body. And if I take damage to my brain, if I get cancer, if I get a disease, I can actually alter me in ways that nobody would recognize, including EEG machines. So I have all this evidence, but I have absolutely none for afterlife. And now you're trying to base, this belief in something we have zero evidence for to something that we have a metric ton of evidence for at the very least. So how are you getting from no evidence to the same as everything we've observed about the world?
I guess there is something wrong with this argument, even that I'm making. I'm just trying to find fallacy there. But I think falsification was a correct point, and thank you for the point, Steve.
Well, the fallacy here is that A equals A is a presupposition. It is a necessary presupposition that serves as the foundation of reason. We have mountains of evidence for it, and if at any time it's demonstrated that it's not inviolate, then we will take that into account. But for now, it's reasonable to continue acting as if it applies everywhere all the time. I don't think that any of the things that I just used to describe A equals A apply in any way at all to a notion of an afterlife. It's not a necessary presupposition. It doesn't have mountains of evidence supporting it. Not something we need to assume for other reasons. It is not something that continues to reprove itself that it is reliable. It's the exact opposite of that. Until such time as there is evidence for it, anyone rationally believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's correct. Yes. Thank you.
Got that little whisper, humble motherfucker. Yes, yeah.
Thanks very much. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Enjoyed talking to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Harry. By the way, I can keep with other calls if you want to. My mood has improved.
Oh, baby, I got you damn beef jerky and stuff. I got you 2 bags.
I understand. I get it. And I've been putting people in timeout because I can't hate looking at chat and having people say, "Oh, well, you should do the show this way, or you should do this," because also they're on a delay. But yeah, I'm in a good mood now.
Good. Then we're going to go to click the link to Sammy in England, who says that you have experience with supernatural entities, jinn, who are mischievous beings made of fire. Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
Oh, God, I did not think that I would actually get on the show. I was like, no, it's the end. I didn't know how much rejection I could take today, but thank you. Thank you for taking my call.
So what have you experienced? How can we verify this?
Okay, so I get the feeling you don't place too much stock in personal experience. So no, you can't verify it, but this is my experience. And have you ever seen the show Supernatural?
Oh my God.
Can't verify it. Why should we bother listening?
Because it's interesting, and
It's not interesting. It's not interesting to me. I have no reason to believe in anything supernatural. I've read countless reports that have been compiled over thousands of years of people claiming supernatural stuff, and every single one of them, some of them claim that they can demonstrate it. You're acknowledging at the outset that you can't demonstrate it. So I can go watch science fiction. I can go watch fantasy. I can go watch things about ghosts and spirits that are clearly fictional. I can even watch the fraudulent ghost hunters on TV doing that stuff. But if you've got a story about how you experience supernatural things, you can't verify it. Let me ask this then. Did you verify that what you experienced was actually supernatural?
Because it totally defies the natural, and
What do you mean totally defies the natural?
well,
Do you have some expertise in what the natural world can and cannot produce?
a disembodied mind.
A mind? A disembodied mind? So what did you experience?
No, a disembodied mind. Okay, so I was 13, and between the ages of 13 and 21, I was tormented by this entity. And my first experience with it was I got up in the middle of the night, and I saw this tall figure just standing in the corner of the room. And it wouldn't be until years later that I actually knew what this was. At the time, I was just freaking out. And
years later, you still don't know what it is.
6 feet 8 inches tall, had a hood, white hands, and it literally pulled me out of my body so that I was drifting towards it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me back up real quick.
Right.
You mentioned that the show Supernatural. Had you just watched the show and it had a jinn in it?
No.
How do you know that you were pulled out of your body? How do you know this wasn't a dream, a hallucination, a mental aberration? How did you rule out naturalistic explanations?
These occurred consistently over the course of 7 years.
I'm not remotely in
These
the
are the same
ballpark
questions
of an
I
answer
can,
to
and
my
I still
question.
continue to
I
ask
told you
myself,
what
and the
took place
thing I
over
come
7
up
years.
with
I
is,
said,
I don't know. I don't know
how
what the
did
fuck the
you
shit
rule
was.
out
I just don't.
mental health issues,
I don't
mental
know.
aberrations, environmental conditions, sleep,
The only thing I want to call and tell Matt the story is because you said something without me telling you that what I was thinking, and that's the only weird part. And even with that, Matt agreed all the way down, and the best thing we can still say is like, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck it was. I saw something. She saw something. I don't know what the fuck it was. I know what I saw. That shit scared the fuck out of me. Whatever it was. And I thought it was. I thought it was an animal. I thought like a bat or a bird was in my room. And I never saw the shit again. But I don't know.
I think it would be an interesting story if you let me go on.
I think it'll be an interesting story, and you're not gonna get YouTube views on my show.
I'm gonna get my hands off the wheel. I promise.
Just use that shit for his own YouTube channel. Look, man, I was on Atheist Experience.
California as evidence for creation
and then you go to his channel and he has like no subscribers.
Come on, dude. Like, dude is weird as shit.
I mean, I believe that people can be clairvoyant, but I don't
think
that people just wake up every day and they're like, it's gonna be 57, and
well, I think the evidence is what I would start with is, even though we do not
call him in now, but Miss Cleo had motherfuckers thinking she was psychic for real.
We can see the evidence of creation.
Call him in now.
When we see a painting that was painted,
you're going to go from the argument for design, correct?
Do you know how we know that a painting was painted?
Because it has paint on it.
You don't get to call something a painting. Like if a bunch of paint falls off of and creates a mess on the floor, is that a painting?
Well, I'm talking about, let's say, like a Rembrandt or something.
Why can't you answer the question that I asked?
I mean, it's just been falling into...
Why won't you answer the question that I fucking asked?
Answer the question.
Going somewhere. I'm trying to be helpful.
Not to be rude, just because I got you on the spot.
What?
You think you got me on the spot? Why won't you answer my question? If a bunch of buckets of paint that were stacked up fall down and get paint all over the floor, is that a painting?
It's a painting, but it's not.
Hey, I'm done. I'm done because that painting didn't require a painter, so you just defeated your own fucking argument. Got me on the spot.
I'm not done. I'm not.
You are done.
So you are done. So because the problem is you're just making an argument from design, and the problem is in order to know when something has been designed or made, we must have something else to compare it to that has not been made or designed. Is the only way we can do that. So where is the other universe that has not been designed that we can compare this one to?
What? Can you repeat that question?
Oh, you're so dumb, bro.
Where is the other universe you are using that has not been designed to compare to this one to prove that this one is designed?
Wherever the other universes are.
There you go, you're done. Right. Because you cannot, on any circumstances, prove that something has been designed without looking at things that have not been designed. And we can see this in evidence in places. There's a series of granite steps near Japan that's underwater. And people thought these were giant steps until geologists got in there and said, no, this is the way the granite breaks when it's under this type of pressure, and these types of things happen, and it happens to look like steps. So even when we compare things that happen naturally to things that we know are designed like steps, we can still be wrong. So you have to have something to compare it to, and if you have nothing to compare it to, then how do you know something has been designed? Because your example of a painting is exactly that. We know when something is a painting because we compare it to things that have not been painted.
We recognize design not by its complexity, in many cases by its simplicity, because simplicity and efficiency is a hallmark of intentional design. Well, we recognize design by contrasting it with things that aren't designed. And there's another aspect to this, which is we have a painting. We don't get to call it a painting until we have evidence that it was in fact painted. So what we have is, we have something like the Mona Lisa. All available evidence shows that that only occurs when an intelligent agent does that. That a Mona Lisa, something of that, the design qualities of that, does not occur naturally. All of the evidence points to it being created. No evidence points to it not being created. When we look at the world, when we look at trees, the evidence points to those things being natural. There's no evidence for a creator. And so if you go out and you walk along a river for a storm, and there's a whole bunch of sticks that are blocking up that river, how do you tell whether that was an accident of nature or if it was a beaver dam that was intentionally constructed by a beaver? I mean, no, that's a question. That's how can you tell the difference between a bunch of sticks that formed a dam?
Difficult to tell the difference if you didn't know how beavers built dams.
So you compare it to an existing beaver dam.
You compare it to a beaver dam, right? To see if this thing has the hallmarks of a beaver dam, right? So you need something to compare it to. So what have you compared anything to in order to determine that a God did it?
I didn't say it was God. I said a created design.
Whatever.
Whatever you want to label it in your absolute, utter dishonesty. Whatever you want to label it. And by the way, the God you believe in, is you think he's going to be proud of you ducking the God little in order to make some abstract...
Can I speak another one of my points? Because you're just trying to...
No, you don't get to make another point. You made one point. It was shit. We've explained why it was shit, and we asked you questions about it. What do you have to compare something to show whether it's created or not?
Response for the painting. How about, what is your response for...
I'm not here to respond to you over and over again 10 minutes after the show's supposed to end. You come with your A game, and when your A game gets demolished, we move on to another caller.
Yeah.
And we do it just like this.
I guarantee you. Now, we feedback all the time. I'm gonna take a minute here because I talked more than anybody today. I talked more than Jim today. Yes, I'm in a mood, and yes, I was taking no shit in chat and no shit here. I'll clarify all this. If you go back and you review the calls that happened on this show, the only time that things start to get heated is when the other person is failing to respond to the questions we've asked. We've done this for a long time. And these questions, I'm trying to take the most efficient path so that I don't have to spend 40 minutes going in loops with one caller. I'd like for calls to take 5 to 10 minutes because that's really all that we need for most of this, because it's not like we've got expert apologists calling. Today was a train wreck of bad arguments across the board. Well, we know the Gospels are reliable, or we don't have originals, but we can kind of imagine what the originals would be like, or you got to rely on logic, and therefore there's this. It was just one, and it would all of them was here.
Yeah.
Taking a day off, and Jim could have demolished all those. Jim could have taken a day off. I could have demolished all those. If you are a theist, if you believe nothing else I ever say, which I'm sure most of you don't, if you're a theist, I genuinely would love to have a conversation with you about why you believe. But I have zero fucks left and zero patience left. People who are not going to argue honestly, for people who aren't going to ask the question that's put in front of them. If you just flit around, if you just dance around and say, oh, well, you knocked down that argument, let me give you another argument. No, that's not the way this works.
They say you should have came with your A game to start with.
Gosh, that one didn't stump you. Maybe I can come up with one that stumps you. Is that your hope? To present argument after argument until you find one that stumps us?
No.
And then when you do stump us, because you will. Jim and I don't know everything. There's lots of shit we're fucking clueless about. You're going to stump us one day. You call in and stump us and leave thinking that you have A, demonstrated that you're rational, you're wrong. B, demonstrated that God exists, you're wrong. Us being stumped is not the end goal. should be the end goal is clarity of what is actually being claimed. If you want to call in to say you've had supernatural experiences, and then you say, you guys can't verify it, and I didn't bother to verify it either, is that any different from somebody who's just saying, here's a cool story?
And I've had what could be considered by some people as supernatural experience myself. I don't consider it that. I would love for someone to give me some reason why I should. But honestly, the most we come up with is I don't know what happened. All I know is that the laws of the way electronics work should not cause the radar to rotate backward at a really weird grinding noise. But I have, not only did I witness that, but the guy I was working with on that radar was there, and all of our students were there, and the instructors were there, and we all went over that radar. And it still, after my friend walked up, said something in vaguely Latin and waved his hands. It rotated backward,
appreciate it, bro.
Strange grinding noise. We immediately turned it off.
Appreciate
never
it.
did it again. But there was no reason for any of
Yo, definitely go to my my Instagram, yo. My Instagram is probably like the most streamlined, concise platform to just check out all of my art, because I don't really post nothing else on my Instagram other than my art, yo.
We don't just have like 1 or 2 lines.
Yeah, if you want to check out more of my stuff,
I don't know how many we have open. It's like 6 or 7.
On my feed right here,
and there are
paintings by the Prince
plus people
on
watching
Instagram.
This live, and
I just finished 2 paintings in the past couple weeks that are pretty dope, and now I have this one on the easel.
Explain slavery.
It's coming along nicely. One of my good friends, I've painted her a couple of times already.
That's wrong about what the Bible says in slavery. What's happened both times? I had him read it.
It's so hard to find models, so when I do find good models, I ask them to model for me more than once normally, until I can find another model. But she helped me out with a set of photos earlier this year, and I already painted one of them, and I just actually did a little bit more to that one yesterday and set it to the side. Now I'm working on this one, and have another painting of another friend of mine, and I need to get some more art started, because I'm running out of projects. It'll come. It'll come. One of my favorite artists, his name is Rick. He does a lot of Time magazine covers. Another guy I know, oh my God, why can't I think of my man's name right now? But one of the guys, this one artist I follow, this black artist, he does a lot of the New Yorker covers. He has several covers he did for the New Yorker. Where the fuck is Yo, Puff, what up, bro? But it'll get out there, you know. All I gotta do is just keep pushing it, keep pushing the art, you know. The right person to see that shit soon enough. That's it, yo. Kadir Nelson. Damn, I could not think of dude's name for a minute. But his name is Kadir Nelson. If you ever check his art out, yo, his shit is hot, yo. Kadir Nelson, Kehinde Wiley, Tim Akamora, Fahamu Peku, Jordan Castile, motherfucking Sidney James, Amarosa. Like, there's a lot of artists I follow, yo, and I see like how big their careers are. So, but it's all about just continuing to come up with, you know, creative concepts, cool ideas, and, you know, being diligent. Stay in the fucking studio, stay making art, yo. Then I heard Hubbly Bubbly. So stupid.
They are on a roll today.
Oh, damn, we already got 2.5 hours in this bitch. That means I've been up for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Get that day started right. You gotta get the day started with some mental exercises, you know what I'm saying? Some cognitive motherfucking stretches and shit. You know what I'm saying? You just can't wake up, turn on cartoons and shit. That's how your brain get mushy, man. Your brain get mushy, man. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get started with some art and education. Only way to start the day. Art, education, a little bit of vegetation. You know what I'm saying? That shit keep the mind strong.
Why would you do that? Why would he do that?
Dumbass.
Like, what's wrong with you?
No, she has a dog. Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? Good morning.
We have a dog. I can see you.
But yeah, good thing we start our mornings out like this, you know what I'm saying, with some positive energy, some inspiration. So we all, be steadfast and ready for the day. So we don't have to go out slap motherfuckers in the face and shit, you know what I'm saying? Get that woosah in there. You know, cause if we don't start a day like this, have all that pent up tension, aggression and shit, you might have a bad day like that. As long as you get a little bit of art early in the morning, you'll be alright. A little bit of art, that's all it takes. Two people from my job called me yesterday, and I missed both of their calls. Like, my direct supervisor called, and our HR lady called me. Our HR lady called me twice. So there's something important they want to talk to me about. I don't know what it is, but my boss texted me. She said she'll call me around 9 o'clock this morning. So we'll see what that is. I doubt if it's anything bad. I haven't been at work in so long. It's like, what could I get in trouble for? I haven't even been to work. But we'll see what they want. Gotta take a little road trip this morning. I got some bad news that I've been holding back for a long time. Wasn't really gonna tell nobody this shit. You know what I'm saying? But I guess I'll tell y'all, cause don't mess with HR. But so I had entered some artwork into the state contest this year, and my painting was selected to be purchased by the state museum, which is awesome. Which means, like, I'm the best artist in the state this year. And so they asked me some questions about my art, and then I know the model, and I said, yeah, I know who the model is. And they said, well, did you photograph the picture? And I said, no, I didn't photograph it. This photography company I work with photographed the image. And but I have all the permission from them to use their images and everything, and we absolutely agreed on, you know, if I sell anything like that, like we already had our own agreement. Like I didn't steal this image. The photographer knew before I even painted the image that I was going to use it, and we had an agreement for that shit. And so like I don't see how that's an issue, but for the simple fact that I didn't photograph the image, once they found that out, they was like, oh, well, we don't want it now. I'm like what? He was like, yeah, you didn't take the picture that you painted. Yeah, but a lot of painters aren't photographers. A lot of painters don't take their own photographs. You do know this, right? Oh, well, we don't want any legal this and legal that. No, I have legal documentation from the photographer of our agreement saying that I can use their intellectual property as a part of my own personal art. And the museum just said, no, we're not going to buy the painting from you because you did not take the photograph. And so I have to go pick up my painting today. After the museum announced it themselves publicly on their forums and in their newsletters and all this shit, saying, hey, Travis Prince is the best artist, we're going to buy his painting, we're going to keep it in our museum. And they said all of that before they started questioning me and grilling me on that shit. It's like, oh, well, you didn't take the picture. I'm like, so why didn't you go through all of this prior to announcing me publicly as the recipient of the Purchase Award? And so they really didn't have a lot to say about it, and so it is what it is. So my painting will not be a part of a museum collection. Not yet. You know, not yet anyway. But it is what it is. I understand if they're trying to base it on the concept, but still, the photograph and the painting are never the same. You know what I'm saying? Even if I paint it exactly like the photograph, the painting still resonates a transition of their concept. It's like an elevation. A painting is an elevation of the image. But like I said, I'm not gonna fight it. And once again, I had legal permission. So if they say I didn't take the picture, then oh well. Yeah, but I already had a buyer interested in it. You know, that's the thing though. Like, I don't. Oh yeah, the thing was I don't want it. I didn't want it to go into a private collection and then just like have one person see it. Like, I want my stuff in museums. I want it to be housed somewhere where it's going to be taken care of. You know, for generations, and you know, thousands and thousands of people can see it, not just in someone's. I love having my stuff in private collections, don't get me wrong, but when it goes into somebody's house, you know, it's not going to get as much attention. But if you can have something in a gallery, which is okay, but gallery exhibits don't last forever. You know, gallery exhibits come and go. But if you're in a museum, I mean, it may not be on display constantly in the museum, but it can stay on rotation where they can have it out certain parts of the year, or, you know, certain years at a time. So my whole goal is to have like my art in museums. I think that's like the validation for artists to know that, you know, a state-operated facility wants to house and take care of your art. Yeah, and that's the thing, like, I think they just wanted the recognition of, oh, a black artist. See, we're giving the award to a black artist. See, we're not racist here. We're gonna give the award to the black guy. And then they take it back after they already announced it. Like, oh, whoa, wait a minute, wait.
It waited way too long to take it back.
You didn't tell us you didn't take the picture, so we're not cool with this anymore. But anyway, all right, I'm gonna clean up my brushes and get up out of here, guys. Try to get some chores and shit done before I gotta leave the house. But appreciate everybody chilling this stream, checking out the portraits. I'll holla at y'all next time. Oh, don't worry, I'll come back stronger next year with some more shit that they won't be able to deny. And this right here has made me determined to myself, I will not ever paint a picture that I haven't taken myself. Not from, like, if it ain't some commission shit, like, that's all I'm ever doing, my own photography. Peace.